We can now see the data companies like Google develop your digital profile by analyzing every area of your life, whether you are using your mobile device, watch TV, browse the internet, or heating your house. This takes us to the next point, which is very important. It is very likely that algorithms will soon be able to make sense of all this data and end up knowing us better than we know ourselves. In his book, Homo Deus, Noah Yuval Harari suggests that humans are nothing but a collection of algorithms. Based on this, he argues that an external algorithm could in fact learn to manage this algorithm better than humans can. Many people may disagree, but he's absolutely correct in concluding, I quote, "Attributing free will to humans is not an ethical judgment." In fact, if you took our course on psychology, you will already have reached the same conclusion. The idea that humans make most of their decisions consciously has been proven wrong over and over again by scientists and psychologists. In brief, thousands of experiments demonstrated that human decision making happens mainly at an unconscious level. It's kind of funny and scary at the same time. We think about ourselves as being in charge of our decisions, but in reality, most often we are puppets triggered by the stuff that is outside our consciousness. Again, we discussed this in the course on psychology. However, for the time being, just consider this really disturbing experiment. People were presented with a choice of two switches. Simply by looking at their neural activity, scientists were able to tell which switch these participants pressed before they consciously decided to press it. Unfortunately, no trace of free will or conscious decision making here. In fact, in other experiments, which could not be performed on people for ethical reasons, researchers implanted electrodes into the sensory and reward areas of rat brains. Then they built a remote control system which allowed them to control the movement of these rats. Basically, they clicked left and the rat turned left, clicked another button and the rat climbed on the ladder, and so forth. Just keep this in mind. It all happened beyond the level of consciousness of the rat. In simple terms, the rat did not think it was being controlled. It just felt the desire to turn left and it turned left. Harari makes another interesting point. Given the many biases we are subjected to, an algorithm with sufficient information about our inner workings will most often make better decisions than we could make ourselves. He goes on to suggest that if we gave Google and its competitors access to our biometric devices, DNA information, medical records, fitness information, and so forth, these algorithms would prevent many of the bad decisions we make. On reflection, we make so many bad decisions based on feelings, personal experiences, biases, circumstances, and so many more. By contrast, an algorithm may get data from my watch and phone and notice an increase in pulse. Based on this signal and many others, and we know that Google has plenty of it, the algorithm may decide that I am more likely to be biased towards a certain action. Now it adjusts for these signals and predicts the action I should take. I can choose to do so or not. Yuval Harari concludes that, I quote, "Unlike the narrating self that controls us today, Google will not make decisions on the basis of cooked up stories and will not be misled by cognitive shortcuts. Google will actually remember every step we took. Google will advise us which movie to see, where to go on holiday, what to study in college, which job offer to accept, and even whom to date or marry." Of course, you will believe this is a sci-fi scenario, but take an example of a study conducted by Facebook on almost 87,000 volunteers. Facebook found that its algorithm needed only 10 likes performed by a user to judge their personality better than their work colleagues did. Yep, that was 10 likes. Why? Well, in the words of Seth Godin, a vote is a statement about the voter, not about the candidate. There is more, of course. It took only 70 likes for Facebook to know participants better than their friends did. It took 150 likes to know them better than family members did. And it took 300 likes to predict their opinions and desires better than their wives or husband could. Based on this research and many other similar studies, Harari believes that humans would be better off if they gave up important life decisions to algorithms. In fact, he suggests that we should replace the old "listen to your feelings" motto with a completely new one: listen to the algorithm. They know how you feel. Look, if you took our course on online psychology, you will quickly acknowledge that humans are highly biased. From instinct to perceptions, we believe that we make decisions in a conscious way. However, the field of psychology has been demonstrating beyond any doubt that this is not the case. So maybe giving control to an algorithm-powered assistant to take over our daily decisions may not be as far-fetched as it may seem. In fact, the idea is not new. Kevin Kelly, ex-editor-chief of Wired, for example, describes filtering as one of the top digital trends of the future. Just imagine yourself searching on Amazon for a management book. In fact, I just typed management in the book search bar, and Amazon returned almost 1.4 million books. Now, research described by Graham Jones in his book Ecology shows that our attention spans are at present as low as 8 seconds versus 12 seconds in 2018. Add the massive increase in choices and assume a lack of filtering and suggestions from Amazon's algorithm. Well, you may find yourself unable to choose. This brings me to another obvious but not as often reflected on human behavior. Without realizing it, we already allow algorithms to make decisions for us. We already trust that all the data we fed into them over the years has trained them to make the right choices for us. In fact, thinking about it, 80% of the books I buy on Amazon are made via the recommendation system. Similarly, you may not consciously realize, but you already gave control to Google for many of your choices. Just think about it in this way. You type a search query in Google, then click on one of their SERPs, and most often you are not even checking the second, let alone the 10th page in Google. So what you just did is in fact allowing Google's algorithms to decide the information that was relevant to you. Pedro Dominguez explained this brilliantly in his book, The Master Algorithm. I quote, "Google's algorithm largely determine what information you find. The last mile is still yours, choosing from the options the algorithm presents you with, but 99.9% of the selection was done for you already." Okay, so you're still not convinced, right? Just imagine this. Google changes its algorithms tomorrow, and today's search results on the first pages are being replaced with new results. So, in fact, Google has now chosen the content you read and influenced your opinions, and all with a simple tweak of its algorithm. Oh, but wait, this already happens. It's called a Google Core Algorithm Update, and it actually happens much more often than we digital marketers like, SEOs in particular. So already Google decides what we see and influences our perceptions. Let's just stop here, but we will conclude the conversation in the next session. Thank you for watching.